Well, yeah, I haven't covered this topic in a while on this channel, but I went across a video last night that was from a channel called Telltale, something like that. I'll put it in the description, but he's an atheist channel, and it goes back in probably around 2015, 2016 when there was a bunch of atheists on YouTube. And it went back to the same idea that somehow to be an atheist you have to automatically be liberal or you have to automatically be a Democrat. And it's really bothering me. This is what he said.
I've been seeing a lot of atheists from specifically the right side of the political spectrum come out. And to me, it's kind of weird to say that I'm Republican or Libertarian because they're very Christian oriented. And I was wondering if in the near future, in your opinion, there would be kind of a resurgence of right-leaning atheists that kind of form their own political party, not centered around Christianity and its morals, but just their own personal belief systems. Thank you.
Extremely interesting question. I really appreciate you calling in with that. Atheists have been trying to in the atheist community. They aren't really in the atheist community anyways anymore. Armored Skeptic and TJ Kirk and whoever else, they're really not YouTube atheists anymore. They're the skeptic community, not the atheist community. I mean, I replaced them. Me, Mr. Atheist, and a whole bunch of other people all kind of came in and replaced those old guys. And we aren't conservative, nor are we SJWs or anti-SJWs. We are liberal. We stand up for human rights and inclusion wherever possible. So I think the atheist landscape on YouTube, at least, has changed for the better. Now, there are some atheist organizations out there that are very, very liberal, and I'm all for it. American Atheists, Freedom from Religion Foundation, very liberal organizations in a lot of ways, and I am all for it. I think they're doing the right thing, fighting for inclusion and fighting for our rights as humans. Awesome causes, awesome groups, awesome.
I just got some things to say about that the man who was originally talking was calling on a phone, and he was wanting to know whether or not there's been like Republicans trying to run as atheists or conservatives trying to run as atheists, and it's the same old that usually the YouTubers will sit back and say that somehow you can only be a liberal and do so, and somehow the Democrats have total authority over all atheism. In 2019, summer of 2019, I went to, I believe it was the American Atheist meeting here in Atlanta, and I went once. The whole thing was nothing but Trump bashing. The whole thing was felt more like going to a Democrat meeting than anything to do with atheism. And this guy in the video was just asking whether or not you could be able to expect maybe a Republican to be able to run as an atheist, and he completely shut him down and went through the talk about how back in the day the person doing the video was sitting there talking about how 2015, 2016 somehow the movement was trying to get a political party started to run as atheists, and it fell apart. Well, it fell apart because they're completely biased, and they never sit there and look at anybody else's viewpoint other than their own. And the irony behind all this, when I went to that meeting back during 2019, one of the liberals in that group sit there and said across from me that you couldn't be able to win a Trump person over to the Democrats or win them over to atheism. When the irony behind that summer was only, well, not that summer, but 2016 primary, I voted for Bernie Sanders, and it was the only time I ever voted for a Democrat day in my life. And then he came out and said he was a Christian afterwards, after everybody pumped on YouTube that he was a atheist, and then he turned around and claimed that he was a Christian. And after that, I voted for Trump. And then fast forward a few years, in that meeting, the American Atheists sit there and said you couldn't turn somebody back over, when originally I tried and their person failed. And basically both sides still do Christianity either way. Well, this is my take on it. So,
well, first of all, I am not an atheist, but
from the perspective of a woman of faith. From the perspective of a woman of faith. From the perspective of a woman of faith. Sometimes, especially in this body, I feel as though if Christ himself walked through these doors and said what he said thousands of years ago, that we should love our neighbor and our enemy, that we should welcome the stranger, fight for the least of us, that it is easier for a rich man, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into a kingdom of heaven, he would be maligned as a radical and rejected from these.
Chosen their whiteness over democracy. Who have chosen their whiteness over democracy.
but yeah, you get the point. You can be an atheist, you can be anything you want to be. That's the whole point of being an atheist. And I'm about tired of these atheists trying to sit there and trying to take the liberal side and trying to make everything to be just liberal and liberal and liberal and liberal all the time. And you can't be an atheist unless you're a liberal, when it seems like it's totally the opposite. And is that Darwinistic evolution based on survival of the fittest and natural selection? And shouldn't that be the whole point of being an atheist? So yeah, so let me know what you think about this, and just peace out.